Honda Pilot. It's one of the most popular midsize SUVs with 3 rows of seats. Now in its 4th generation, 3 years after it was brand new for 2023, this is the 2025 Pilot Black Edition. That's a brand new trim for this year. It has some new visual tricks, but everything else that you love about the Pilot, that we love about the Pilot, is here and it's here to stay. So there's some pricing changes and some slight differences inside, so come with me, let's check it out. The Honda Pilot has been on sale for more than 20 years. Now in its 4th generation that was new for the 2023 model year, the Pilot is basically unchanged for 2025, but adds this new top trim level, and it also deletes the bottom trim level. The Black Edition is new for 2025 and it gives you more black. And red if you order this extra charge paint, which I think it looks really good this way, because all the black bits do offer a lot of contrast. You're getting black 20-inch wheels, the roof rails, the front of the grille, below the grille, around the headlights, the mirror caps, even the back bumper, everything is polished black. It also says Black Edition. Otherwise, every single Pilot does have 20-inch wheels. There's a lot of different designs out there. And from the side is the Pilot's best profile. This really looks like the 1st gen Pilot when it was very chunky. The previous gen was more like a minivan, more like an Odyssey. This one has the SUV profile, front, rear, everywhere. It's simple, just enough ruggedness to suggest that it might go off-road, and the Trail Sport version does, a bit. But the Pilot is really a family SUV, and I think it's Honda's best looking in quite a while. The Pilot has a single powertrain, a 3.5-liter naturally aspirated V6 engine with 285 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. There's a 10-speed automatic transmission, and all-wheel drive is standard on 3 trims, the Trail Sport, the Elite, and this Black Edition. Otherwise, it's an option and comes in front-wheel drive form. And if you get the front-wheel drive Pilot, you're getting decent fuel economy. It's nearly, but almost, cracking 30 mpg highway. The all-wheel drive models are lower, this one's just okay, and the Trail Sport is the worst, as you can see. But towing across the board is 5,000 pounds, which is very competitive. The Pilot is nicely analog. There's a lot of buttons, a lot of switches, very simple. Honda really does keep it simple for a reason. It's easy to drive. The Black Edition adds red perforated seats, stitching, red accents on the steering wheel, and embroidered headrests and floor mats. There's also red accent lighting in all of the rows and extra red door lighting. What I really like are these 3-tier storage trays on all 4 doors. When you order the loaded version, you're getting cooled front seats in addition to heated, but the passenger seat only moves in 4 ways. This is a 10-way driver's seat. But either of these 2 people up front have a very, very deep storage bin. So if you got waters, it goes down pretty far and there's lots of storage all over the place, including on the dash. Every Pilot except the Trail Sport can seat 8 passengers. And on the lower trims, this portion is fixed in the center, but on this one, and a lot of the top trims, not only does it fold down, so there's extra cup holders and extra space here, but the entire piece can come out and it stows underneath the cargo floor. That's very handy. Now also, if you want to have more room for the 3rd row, sliding fore and aft is a very nice thing. There's also heated rear outboard seats on these upper trims and 3rd zone climate, which is very, very nice with controls back here. That's standard on every single Pilot, but on the base trim, you're not gonna get the controls, so you'll have to ask the people up front. In any 3rd row SUV of this size, you always feel like you're riding in the cargo space, because you are. But there's actually decent space here. I've moved this seat up just slightly, and that means there's still enough room for the 2nd row without squishing anybody. The only gripe I'll have, it's not the USB-C ports on either side, that's good. It's the fact that right here, it's really hard plastic. So if you have any sort of arms or elbows, which I think most people do, it's not very comfortable. The Pilot is generous on cargo space, 19 cubic feet behind the 3rd row, 48 when it's folded, and when both rows are folded, 86.5, and on lower trims, it's a full 87. Upper trims of the Pilot have a 9-inch screen versus the standard 7-inch. You get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, that's nice. It's also fast. It is based on the Android OS, not fully Google native, so these maps are good. They're nice, but really, the response time, not very good, so you'll probably do want to use your phone projection here if you have it. But some nice features in here. Cabin talk, which if you actually use this, a lot of reverb, tons of reverb, so everybody in the back can hear you. You could just scream, but it is here. That's nice, plus the cameras. When you're in the front, you can see the wheels so you don't curb them. I would like to see that in the back too, but limited views, but the views are at least clear. And what else do we have on here? Not too much stuff, but vehicle settings are very easy to adjust from the driver systems, right? You got that. If you want to adjust the lighting, driver positions, there's a lot of things in here. It does make it easy. It's not the most advanced system, but a lot of it is here. I just wish the screen was just a touch larger because the dashboard is wide enough to accommodate it. The Pilot's digital instrument panel is very crisp. It's also really easy to use. There's 2 thumb wheels on either side of the steering wheel. Audio goes on the left, more information on the right. So that's really very, very good. And let's see here. Say you go into the safety support systems, very easy to adjust all of these as well. So if you don't want forward collision warning or some of the lane departure, you can do that without wading into the touchscreen. And if you go into the more of the settings here, and there is a head-up display as well that'll show a lot of this info on the windshield. You can change the gauge designs, sometimes if you just want a bar graph. I don't really like that. The minimal version is really helpful because if you have the driver assist ready, it actually will minimize all of those gauges when you're at speed and it shows all your info. Look, it'll even have the little brake lights here when you're using that and the turn signals. Kind of cute, but it really does help you overall. It's a good system. Instead of a Turbo 4, the Pilot relies on a larger, naturally aspirated V6. And maybe they've done something because it sounds better under full throttle than it used to. By used to, I mean in the Ridgeline, in the Passport, and the last Pilot I drove. But this 2025 model doesn't seem as thrashy. It's a lot better. It's not quick because there's no turbo, there's no electrification, nothing like that. So you really have to step on it. There's not a ton of low-end torque at all. So that kind of drives like an older type of SUV. But once you're up to speed, it's fine. And there's paddle shifters, there's a sport mode for the transmission, and 7 separate driving modes, including for the trail, which if you really want to see that, check out the Trail Sport review. Check that one out. We took that one off-road. Performs pretty well, but this is a street Pilot. It's not meant for anything like that. This 10-speed automatic does pair better with this V6 than the previous generation Pilot's 9-speed, for sure. And there's paddle shifters too, so it's all good. It actually has some sporting pretensions, but in reality, throw it in drive, put it back into normal, that's where the Pilot settles. It is really a great highway cruiser. It's quiet, it's insulated, these seats are comfortable, they're not really supportive on the lateral front, so if you're bigger, you'll probably enjoy these because they're just nice and wide, easy to get in, easy to see out of. So it makes the Pilot very simple to drive, which I suspect most people will want. So if you're packing all these people for a long distance, this is going to be an easy car. It's the one you want to pick out of all your cars. Honda sensing comes standard on every Pilot, and that does include some semi-automated control. Honda was one of the first automakers to offer that more than a decade ago. Still works pretty well, and now you can see the lane markings on the instrument panel and they curve, and that's also really nice. You'll see other vehicles in the adjacent lanes. I like that. And overall it works pretty well, but it is not a camera-based system, so there's no like eye tracker here, there's no laser maps that were created that way, the 3D maps that are super accurate. It's not using any sort of map data like that or subscription, so it's just relying on all the sensors. And as it does so pretty well. But it's not the most class-leading system now, not even in Acura models. Even though the Pilot really isn't a quick car by any means, the chassis is very good. Honda has done an excellent job with this current gen Pilot. It was good in the last one, but this one in particular, it looks more like a truck from the outside, but it definitely drives, it handles, and it steers more like a smaller car. Larger SUVs are getting better and better at driving like cars. They've been based on car platforms for the better part of 20 years, but they still don't always drive like them. This one does. Honda's done a great job of combining ride control, comfort. Even on these 20-inch tires, you would never know that they were that large. And it's just smooth, it's comfortable, but yet throw it into a corner and it grips and everything is just nice and secure. Maybe your valuables in the back won't be, but the car certainly is. Part of the agility comes from a torque vectoring system. Unlike a lot of other automakers, even including Porsche, they use brake-based torque vectoring, so it's braking the inner wheel to slow down the speed and change that trajectory. That's okay in theory, but mechanical, even though it's a little heavier and more expensive, that's the better route. Honda developed that a long time ago. You'll find it on so many Honda and Acura models with all-wheel drive, and it makes a difference. It overdrives the outside wheel, and it can also apply up to 100% of the torque that's sent to that rear axle to either of those wheels. That means you're getting a more reactive all-wheel drive system when you need it. You may not think you need it, and for the most part, it's so transparent inside the Pilot that you would not know unless you looked at the instrument panel and saw the gauge here, which tells you which wheels are being driven. It's a really good system in that regard. But even in a family SUV, having something that is a sportier piece of hardware, it pays off. So if you go a little harder into a turn, the trajectory stays right on track. You're not understeering and going into someone else's lane or driving off the road. Those are important things, especially if you give it to a teen driver in your family. And any driver is going to like the brakes. The brakes just feel really easy to modulate. The 2025 Honda Pilot starts at $39,900. There are 6 trims, and the base LX trim no longer exists, so it's almost $3,000 more to start than the 2024 Pilot. As tested, this black edition with red paint and destination, $56,130. There are many competitors, including the Nissan Pathfinder, Subaru Ascent, Ford Explorer, Toyota Highlander, and the Chevrolet Traverse. The Pilot delivers everything you'd expect out of a Honda. A lot of comfort, a ton of room, a lot of value, and things maybe you wouldn't on this big of an SUV. Really good handling, a great ride. Now, it might not be the most innovative with technology or with powertrains. We really like other vehicles like the Kia Telluride and the new Toyota Grand Highlander for those things. But even 3 years into this current generation, it is offering a lot, and it's definitely one of our favorites. What do you think? What midsize 3-row would you buy for your family? Go to CarGurus.com, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time.